Have you ever paused to truly consider what makes a government function? I mean, beyond the daily headlines and the faces of politicians, what are the fundamental engines that actually drive a nation?
That's a great question. How are laws not just made, but also implemented and consistently upheld?
Exactly. It really delves into the very architecture of how societies organize themselves.
It's remarkably easy to get swept up in the immediate news cycle. The latest policy debate, the newest legislation, or maybe a court ruling.
Right.
But to truly grasp how a society operates, we really need to look beneath the surface. It's about understanding the foundational systems, the deep-seated structures that define how power is
How it's
exercised,
distributed.
and critically, how it's constrained, to serve the public good.
Yes. And today we're taking a deep dive into those foundational structures, what we call the core organs of government.
The legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, the big three.
Precisely. We've pulled together some truly comprehensive sources to give you, our listener, a foundational yet insightful understanding of these essential branches.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission for you is basically to cut through the noise and provide a shortcut to being well-informed. We're going to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, maybe explore some surprising facts,
Got some of those aha moments.
hopefully, about these essential branches. We'll unpack their distinct roles, delve into their intricate interrelationships, and explore that constant, delicate balancing act required for effective governance.
And it's not just about what they are, right? It's how they influence each other and ultimately how they impact your daily life and the fabric of democracy itself.
Okay, so let's start right there with a fundamental framework. When we talk about the organs of government, what exactly are we referring to? What does that phrase really encompass?
Well, at its heart, the organs of government are the distinct branches or divisions that collectively exercise the powers and functions of governance within a country. Think of it maybe less like a single giant engine and more like a complex, incredibly well-oiled machine where each organ is a specialized, crucial component.
Like different parts doing different jobs.
Exactly. Each one performs a unique function, but they are all interconnected and vital for the entire system to run smoothly and fulfill its purpose. We're primarily focusing on three main components: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary.
That's a really helpful analogy. So instead of just one big monolithic thing, we're looking at a system where different parts handle different aspects of governing, almost like a division of labor.
Precisely. Each organ has a specific and defined function. The legislature, as we'll explore, is largely responsible for, creating the rules.
Right. The laws.
The executive's role is then to put those rules into action, to govern and administer, and the judiciary steps in to interpret those rules and ensure fairness and adherence to them.
But they don't operate in silos, do they?
Oh, absolutely not. While they are distinct in their primary roles, it's vital to remember that no branch operates in isolation. They are constantly interacting, influencing, and perhaps most importantly, checking each other's power.
The checks and balances.
Exactly. This interconnectedness and the inherent tension it creates are key to preventing any single branch from becoming overly dominant or, tyrannical. It's this delicate system of checks and balances that really forms the bedrock of modern democratic governance.
All right, let's turn our attention then to the first of those, the rule makers, the branch that often embodies the voice of the people, the legislature. This is where the laws of the land are forged.
Yes, the legislature, often called the legislative branch, or arm, is truly the cornerstone of any representative government. Its core identity is quite clear. It's the body responsible for making, amending, and repealing laws.
Making, amending, repealing. Got it.
But its function extends far beyond just writing statutes. Crucially, it acts as the representative body that brings the diverse interests and aspirations of the people it serves right into the governmental process.
And what's really fascinating here is how universally recognized this role is. Even if the names differ wildly across the globe, it's like different languages all describing the same fundamental concept.
That's a great way to put it.
For instance, across Africa, you have the parliament in South Africa and Ghana, but then the National Assembly in Nigeria and Kenya, or the House of Representatives in Egypt. It speaks to a common need, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of culture or history.
It absolutely does. And this pattern continues across every continent. In Asia, you'll find the parliament in India, Japan's national diet, China's immense National People's Congress,
Huge, yeah.
or Saudi Arabia's consultative assembly, the Majlis al-Shura. The sheer variety of names just underscores how fundamental this concept is, despite vast differences in political systems and cultural nuances.
It highlights the universal need for a body responsible for formal lawmaking and representation.
Exactly.
And looking at Europe, we easily recognize the parliament in the UK and Italy. But Germany has its Bundestag, France, its National Assembly. Over in North America, we're familiar with the United States Congress.
Right.
But Canada and Jamaica also have parliaments. Well, Mexico calls theirs the Congress of the Union, and Cuba has the National Assembly of People's Power.
And the pattern holds in South America, too. Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile, they all use a national Congress or Congress of the Republic. It implies a similar representative structure.
Even down in Oceania.
Yep. Australia, New Zealand, Fiji all operate with a parliament. What this global tour really tells us is that while the names and specific internal structures might vary a lot, the essential function of a representative lawmaking body is a remarkably consistent feature of modern governance.
It underscores the universal need for a body that translates societal needs and collective will into actual, actionable law, reflecting the diverse aspirations of a nation.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so they're the lawmakers. But what does that truly entail beyond just writing bills? Let's dive deeper into the legislative toolbox and explore their key functions in detail. First and foremost, of course, is lawmaking itself.
Indeed. This is their undeniable primary function. The rigorous process of proposing, debating, and ultimately voting on bills. These bills are meticulously designed to address societal needs, promote public welfare, regulate all sorts of aspects of governance and society.
Environment, economy, everything.
Everything. But it's not static. It's not just creating new laws. Legislatures also engage in what we call law amendment.
Okay, what's that involve?
It means continually modifying and updating existing laws, making them better, more relevant, or maybe more suitable for current societal needs. This can involve adding new provisions, removing outdated or ineffective parts, or adjusting how a law is applied in specific situations. It's like a living body of work.
And equally important, I imagine, is the power of law repeal. Laws don't last forever, right? Some become obsolete.
Absolutely. The legislature has the crucial power to cancel or completely remove laws that are no longer necessary, have become redundant, or maybe are even counterproductive.
Cleaning up the statute books?
Essentially, yes. This function is vital for simplifying the legal system, preventing the accumulation of outdated or contradictory rules that might otherwise just clutter the legal landscape, create confusion, or even lead to unintended problems.
So the legislative process is far more dynamic than simply making rules. It involves constant evaluation, adaptation, refinement, almost like you said, a continuous societal software update.
That's a good way to think about it.
Beyond just the mechanics of law, there's a vital democratic function that touches every single citizen representation. Why is this so crucial for you, the listener, and for the health of a democracy?
Oh, this function is paramount because elected representatives act as a direct and immediate voice for their constituents. They're your advocates, right? Bringing your needs, your concerns, your grievances directly to the halls of power.
The link between the people and the government?
Precisely. The legislature provides an indispensable platform for public debate and discussion on important issues. It serves as that critical conduit between the populace and the government. It's through this mechanism that your voice can be amplified, your interests articulated, and your perspectives integrated into the national decision-making process.
Without strong representation, a government risks becoming totally disconnected from the very people it serves.
Absolutely. Which leads us to another critical role: oversight of the executive. This is where we really begin to see those initial threads of that intricate system of checks and balances we mentioned earlier, isn't it?
Yeah, holding the government's feet to the fire.
Exactly. The legislature plays a vigilant role in holding the executive branch accountable for its actions and policies. This involves rigorous scrutiny of governmental policies, meticulously examining how public funds are allocated and spent.
Following the money.
Following the money. And demanding transparency in all government operations. It's a fundamental mechanism designed to prevent the executive from accumulating unchecked power or acting outside its defined legal and ethical boundaries.
Without robust legislative oversight, an executive could potentially veer towards authoritarianism. So this is a cornerstone of democratic accountability.
It really is. And tying directly into that, we have budget approval, which feels like the ultimate form of financial oversight, the power of the purse.
Controlling the purse strings, yeah.
This is indeed a monumental responsibility, arguably one of the most powerful tools in the legislature's arsenal. The legislature plays a critical role in reviewing, evaluating, and suggesting amendments to the proposed national budget, which is typically presented by the executive branch.
And they have the final say.
They have the final authority to authorize the allocation of funds for various government programs and services. The implications of this power are profound. I mean, consider the implications if a legislature fails to approve a budget.
Government shutdowns, paralysis.
Exactly. The consequences can range from government shutdowns, where non-essential services halt, to widespread paralysis of essential public services. It's a power that directly impacts the daily functioning of the state and the well-being of its citizens.
And finally, a truly democratic function that speaks to inclusivity, the representation of minority interests. How does the legislature ensure the voices of those not in the majority are still heard?
This function highlights the profound importance of inclusive governance in a diverse society. The legislature provides a vital platform for minority interests and voices to be heard and considered.
Making sure everyone gets the seat at the table, so to speak.
Exactly. Ensuring that their rights and concerns are actively taken into account and protected in the decision-making process. This proactive inclusion helps prevent the marginalization of specific groups, fosters social cohesion, and ensures that laws are crafted with a broader societal perspective in mind, reflecting the complexity and diversity of the nation as a whole. It's a bulwark against the tyranny of the majority.
So we've talked about their vast powers and crucial functions, but no branch of government operates without limits. What are the guardrails and constraints on legislative power? What keeps them from becoming omnipotent?
Good question. The first and most foundational constraint is constitutional limits. A legislature's authority is inherently defined and circumscribed by the country's constitution.
The supreme law.
The supreme law. It sets the boundaries of its powers, outlines its procedures, and often enumerates fundamental rights that simply cannot be violated. So the legislature must function strictly within this constitutional framework. It can't pass laws that violate core constitutional principles.
And here's where it truly gets interesting. Judicial review. This is a powerful check, ensuring that even the lawmakers themselves can be reined in. How does that dynamic work?
Absolutely. This is the judiciary's profound power to review and potentially invalidate laws passed by the legislature if they are found to be unconstitutional.
So the courts can strike down laws.
They can. It acts as a crucial safeguard, ensuring that the legislature's actions comply with the Constitution and, importantly, protecting individual rights from potential legislative overreach or even, democratic excesses. This mechanism is a direct and powerful demonstration of the interplay between the branches, and it leads us directly into our later discussion on the judiciary. It embodies the principle that even the laws themselves are subject to a higher legal standard.
And then there's the executive veto, a direct link to the next branch we'll discuss, the executive.
Yes, in many political systems, the executive branch holds the power to veto legislation that has been passed by the legislature. This serves as a potent check on the legislature's power.
The president or prime minister says no.
Essentially, it allows the executive to block or delay the enactment of laws that may not align with national priorities as they see them, or that might be considered harmful or unwise from the executive's perspective. It creates a critical point of negotiation and potential friction between the two branches.
Beyond these formal mechanisms, there's also the powerful, ever-present influence of public opinion and accountability. How does that constrain lawmakers?
Indeed. Legislatures operate within a democratic framework where they have to be highly responsive to the views and needs of the public. Elected lawmakers are inherently accountable to their constituents, right? They face re-election at regular intervals.
The ballot box.
The ballot box. This means public opinion exerts significant influence over legislative decisions, often shaping priorities and even the feasibility of certain policies. The need to maintain popular support and legitimacy significantly limits the legislature's power and ensures that it remains answerable to the electorate.
And in our increasingly interconnected world, international commitments also play a role, don't they? A country can't just pass any law it pleases if it contradicts its international obligations.
Precisely. Laws passed by the legislature cannot contradict the country's international treaties and agreements that it has ratified. This means the legislature must ensure that its actions and newly enacted laws are consistent with global standards and responsibilities. Adds another layer of constraint.
This all ties back to the broader, overarching concept of checks and balances we keep mentioning.
It really does. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this intricate web of limits is precisely what prevents any single branch from becoming too powerful or dominating the political landscape. Legislative power is restricted not just by the executive and the judiciary, but by other institutions and societal forces, creating a dynamic equilibrium. It's a continuous calibration of power.
Designed to prevent any one part of the governmental machine from seizing absolute control.
Exactly.
And finally, a very practical limitation. Financial oversight, or perhaps the lack thereof, can be a major constraint.
Absolutely. The legislature, while responsible for budget approval, may itself be limited by financial constraints when it comes to initiating or funding its own projects. It often requires approval from the executive or financial authorities to allocate resources for the implementation of laws it has passed.
So even if they pass a law, they might need the executive's okay to actually fund it.
In many systems, yes. This means budgetary control and financial oversight by the Executive Act as practical limitations on the scope and ambition of legislative actions. Reminds us that even the lawmakers operate within economic realities.
Okay, to give us a concrete example of how a legislature is structured and functions, let's take a closer look at a few key aspects of Ghana's parliament. It offers a fantastic illustration of these principles in action without getting bogged down in every single detail, of course.
Sure. Ghana's parliament serves as the supreme legislative body, comprised of all elected members representing Ghanaian citizens. Its core responsibilities, as we've discussed broadly, include lawmaking, providing oversight of the executive, and articulating the diverse interests of the populace. It's a dynamic institution.
And at the very top, you have the Speaker of Parliament, the presiding officer, and highest-ranking official. What's their core role, and what makes it so crucial?
The Speaker is elected by the members of Parliament themselves. And interestingly, they can either be a current MP or a qualified individual from outside Parliament, which offers some flexibility.
Oh, interesting.
Their role is pivotal. They preside over parliamentary sessions, maintain order, ensure debates follow established rules, and interpret parliamentary procedures. Crucially, they also represent Parliament in external matters, acting as its face to other branches of government and international bodies.
So a sort of chief referee and ambassador for the Parliament.
You could say that. And in a system often divided by party lines, the Speaker's ability to remain impartial and ensure fairness for all sides, including minority voices, is absolutely paramount. They really embody the integrity of the institution.
And Parliament isn't just about big debates on the floor. A lot of the real work happens behind the scenes in committees, right? How do those function?
That's right. Committees are truly the engine room of detailed legislative work and scrutiny. Think of them as specialized task forces.
Where the deep dives happen.
Exactly. Standing committees are permanent, covering specific policy areas like finance, defense, education, health. They have vital oversight functions and play a crucial role in scrutinizing bills in detail, holding public hearings, conducting investigations.
And then you have others.
Yes, there are select committees, which are temporary. They're formed for specific issues or inquiries, and they dissolve once their task is completed. This specialized work, often away from the main floor, allows for an immense depth of scrutiny and technical analysis that would be impossible in a full plenary session. They ensure legislation is thoroughly examined by experts and interested parties before it reaches the floor for a vote.
And for those interested in the nuts and bolts of who can actually become an MP, what are the qualifications and some of the key disqualifications? It sounds like there are pretty stringent rules to ensure integrity.
Indeed, the rules generally aim to ensure that those who represent the people are committed and uphold a high standard of integrity. Generally, qualifications include being a citizen of the country, meeting a minimum age requirement, often 18 or 21 being a registered voter.
Basic civic requirements.
Right, and often having a residency or ancestral connection to the constituency they wish to represent. There's also usually a requirement to have settled all tax obligations.
And the disqualifications. What keeps someone out?
On the flip side, disqualifications often include things like owing allegiance to another country, being declared bankrupt or mentally unstable, having serious criminal convictions, especially for things like high crimes, treason, or offenses involving dishonesty.
Makes sense.
Or being found incompetent for public office due to misconduct. Also, holding certain other roles, like specific positions in the civil service, judiciary, or military, are often deemed incompatible with parliamentary membership. This helps maintain separation of powers and avoid conflicts of interest. These rules collectively aim to ensure that elected representatives are fully dedicated to their country and free from undue influence.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit from a single country example and talk about the overarching legislative structures themselves. We often hear terms like unicameral and bicameral. What's the fundamental difference, and what are their respective strengths and weaknesses?
Fundamentally, these terms refer to the number of chambers or houses a legislature has. A unicameral legislature consists of just a single chamber or house.
One house, like Ghana, Denmark, New Zealand.
Exactly. Countries like those operate with this single chamber system. This means all legislative functions, proposing, debating, voting, take place in one body without a separate upper or lower house. Naturally, this leads to a simpler organizational structure. It's essentially a one-stop shop for lawmaking.
And what are the perceived advantages of such a single-chamber system? Did prioritizing efficiency, like you said, truly lead to better governance?
Well, that's the core question, isn't it? The merits often revolve around efficiency and simplicity. Unicameral legislatures can typically make decisions and pass legislation much more quickly because there's no need for a second chamber's approval.
Streamlined process.
Right, it streamlines the process, allowing for quicker policymaking and a faster response to emerging issues, which can be particularly useful during emergencies. Accountability is also theoretically clearer. With a single chamber, it's easier to identify and hold lawmakers directly accountable for their actions. There's no diffusion of responsibility between houses.
Easier to point the finger, maybe.
Perhaps. They're also generally more cost-effective to maintain fewer lawmakers, staff, administrative expenses. From a democratic standpoint, all members are typically elected directly by the people, aligning with the principle of direct electorate choice. And in homogeneous states where people share very similar values and interests, a single chamber can often effectively represent the collective will without needing another chamber for specific regional or diverse concerns.
That sounds pretty straightforward and efficient, but nothing in governance is without its trade-offs. What are the downsides, especially regarding that tension between speed and depth?
Indeed, there are significant demerits which directly address your question about speed versus depth. The most prominent is a fundamental lack of inherent checks and balances within the legislative process itself.
No second look.
Exactly. With no separate chamber to review and scrutinize, there's a greater concentration of power in a single body. This can lead to less thorough deliberation, potentially less accountability, and maybe less robust or even flawed decision-making. Regional representation can be a major issue in diverse or federal countries. A single chamber might struggle to adequately represent all regional interests or minority viewpoints.
And less debate time.
Potentially, yes. There's often limited opportunity for extensive debate and deliberation compared to a two-house system, potentially leading to hasty decisions that haven't been fully vetted or considered from all angles.
So it's a risk of unchecked power and maybe rushed policy?
Precisely. Additionally, there's a higher potential for majority domination where the majority party can exert overwhelming control, potentially marginalizing minority voices and suppressing dissent. The workload on lawmakers can also be extremely heavier, as they have to handle a large volume of tasks without the benefit of a second house to share the burden. This might further limit time for in-depth discussions.
And less suitable for some types of countries.
Generally considered less suitable for federal states, where a second chamber is often needed to ensure robust representation of different regions or states within the federal structure. There's also a risk of neglecting expert knowledge if the single chamber lacks specialists, and maybe a tendency for members to just toe party lines, hindering independent thinking. These trade-offs highlight that constant tension in legislative design. How do we balance efficiency with thoroughness and democratic safeguards?
That's a profound point. Okay, then let's move to the bicameral legislature, which seems specifically designed to address some of those demerits you just outlined. Two chambers?
Right. A bicameral legislature is composed of two separate chambers or houses, which often have distinct functions, powers, and even methods of selecting their members. Prominent examples include Nigeria, the United States, the UK, India, Australia. Many large democracies.
So how are they typically structured? Lower and upper house?
Typically, yes. One chamber, often called the lower house, like the House of Representatives in the US or the House of Commons in the UK, is generally larger, with members elected directly by the general population. This house usually has the primary responsibility for proposing and passing money bills and initiating most legislation.
And the other chamber, the upper house. What role does it play? Different name, maybe different way of getting there.
Exactly. The upper house, like the Senate in the USA or the House of Lords in Britain, is usually smaller. Its members might be appointed, like in the UK, or elected through a different process or on a different basis, perhaps, representing regions or states in a federal system, like the US Senate.
And its job?
Its functions often include representing those regions or states, providing crucial checks and balances on legislation by reviewing or revising bills coming from the lower house, and sometimes holding distinct powers like approving treaties or key appointments. So the key features are two chambers with distinct responsibilities, often different methods of representation where bills usually need approval from both. This system is explicitly designed with built-in checks and balances.
So what does this all mean for the citizen? The bicameral system tries to add layers of scrutiny and broader representation, but as we hinted, at what cost in terms of efficiency and potential gridlock? What are the key advantages first?
The merits are compelling, especially for complex or diverse nations. They offer broader representation of interests, allowing different groups, regions, maybe even professional bodies to have a say, ensuring diverse voices are heard.
More perspectives considered.
Right. The presence of two chambers significantly enhances legislative review, that crucial second look at proposed laws. This improves the quality of legislation by preventing rushed or flawed decisions, acting as a safeguard. It fundamentally contributes to a stronger balance of power, preventing excessive concentration of authority in one chamber.
And the members might be different.
Often the upper house consists of more experienced members or specialists who bring valuable expertise and perhaps a longer-term perspective, contributing to more informed decision-making. Bicameral systems can also provide greater stability and continuity, like with staggered elections in the U.S. Senate, preventing sudden dramatic shifts. And notably, they are particularly effective in federal systems, offering better regional representation.
But with those added layers, I can already foresee some of the problems, namely potential slowdowns and disagreements. You mentioned gridlock.
You're absolutely right. The demerits include a more complex and often slower decision-making process. Both chambers have to agree.
Which can take time,
Yeah.
a lot of time.
It can lead to delays, disagreements, and potential legislative gridlock, making it harder to pass laws efficiently and respond quickly to urgent matters. This very risk of deadlock means vital legislation can get stalled indefinitely. Bicameral legislatures also incur higher costs. Two chambers means more salaries, facilities, staff. Less economical.
More points for lobbyists, too.
That's another point. There's a risk of special interest groups having more access points, and thus potentially more influence. And in some cases, there can be an inequality of representation if one house holds significantly more power or legitimacy than the other, undermining the supposed balance. So it's that classic trade-off again, robustness versus agility.
Before we move on, you briefly mentioned a tricameral legislature. That's not common, is it? Sounds like a historical anomaly.
That's a very astute observation. No, it's quite rare in modern governance. It refers to a legislature with three chambers. The most notable historical example is indeed South Africa during the apartheid era, from 1984 to 1994.
Structured along racial lines, wasn't it?
It was, with separate chambers for whites, coloreds, and Indians. This structure highlights how legislative bodies can be designed in highly specific, often controversial historical contexts to serve particular political or social agendas. But it is certainly not a common contemporary model for democratic governance. It serves more as a cautionary tale, really.
Given all these structures and functions, what are some of the common challenges facing legislatures, maybe like Ghana's parliament, or really any legislative body globally? Things that can hinder their effectiveness and public trust.
What's truly striking here is how these problems are often interconnected. They create this complex web of challenges for legislative bodies everywhere, not just in Ghana. For instance, insufficient staff and inadequate infrastructure.
Basic resource.
Basic resources. This can severely impede a legislature's ability to carry out its duties and oversight responsibilities efficiently. Imagine trying to scrutinize complex government budgets or policies without enough research support or proper IT systems.
And I imagine a lack of independence would be a huge problem. If they're not truly independent, can they really hold the executive accountable?
It absolutely is, and it strikes at the heart of their oversight function. Pressure or direct interference from other branches, especially the executive, can gravely undermine a legislature's ability to act independently and truly reflect public interests.
And party politics.
Similarly, strong political party influence, sometimes called party supremacy or caucus control, can overshadow individual lawmakers' voices. It limits their capacity to effectively represent their constituents and encourages them to just vote along party lines rather than on the merits of an issue.
And what about the lawmakers themselves? Are they always equipped to handle the complex issues of modern governance? We talked about meeting specialists.
That's a critical challenge. A lack of specialized expertise among some legislators in certain complex policy areas, from AI regulation to intricate financial markets, can hinder their ability to fully understand these issues and make well-informed decisions.
Which, combined with partisan fighting.
Exactly. This, combined with intense partisan politics where political disagreements overshadow cooperation and delay vital legislation, can cause significant delays in addressing critical national issues. The public often just sees gridlock, not careful deliberation.
And for the public, transparency is key to trust, isn't it? If you don't know what's going on.
Crucially, a lack of transparency where essential information isn't readily available or public consultation on proposed laws is limited severely erodes trust and confidence in the legislative body. If citizens feel shut out of the process, it breeds cynicism.
And then there's the really damaging stuff.
Yes, the insidious issue of corruption and ethical problems among legislators, instances of bribery, conflicts of interest, abuse of power, which directly undermines the integrity of the legislative process and its ability to serve the public effectively. These are often the most damaging in terms of public perception.
And for actual scrutiny, that committee system sounds vital, but what if it's not working well? If it's weak?
It is indeed vital. If the committee system, which we discussed as the engine room of detailed work, is weak, under-resourced, or ineffective, it significantly hinders the legislature's ability to thoroughly scrutinize policies, oversee government actions, and hold the executive truly accountable. The detailed work simply doesn't get done properly.
And finally, just getting people involved.
Yes, limited public engagement, where citizens have insufficient opportunities to participate directly in the legislative process, leads to reduced citizen involvement and diminishes the legislature's accountability to the people. These challenges truly highlight the constant pressure on legislative bodies to maintain their integrity, effectiveness, and relevance in the eyes of the public.
Now let's transition from the rulemakers to the implementers, the executive. If the legislature crafts the laws, this is the branch that brings them to life, turning abstract policies into tangible actions that affect every citizen.
Correct. The executive organ of government is the branch directly responsible for implementing and enforcing laws and policies. It's truly the doing arm of government, translating those laws into tangible action across the entire country.
Who did that include?
This branch comprises the head of government, typically a president or prime minister, their cabinet members, and a vast network of administrative agencies, departments, public servants. Their role is to make day-to-day decisions, manage government operations, and ensure the effective delivery of public functions, from healthcare to defense.
So it's everything from the very top, the head of state or government, down to every government department you interact with, like the tax office or the local police station.
Pretty much, yes.
What's the broad scope of the executive's functions? It seems like they touch almost every aspect of daily life.
They absolutely do, and their reach is extensive. Their primary function, often quite visible, is the maintenance of law and order enforcing laws, maintaining public peace and security through police forces, managing national defense.
They have some unique powers.
Yes. They also possess the significant power of the prerogative of mercy. That's the authority to pardon or reduce punishment for convicted individuals, showing an aspect of mercy within the legal system. A critical part of their interaction with the legislature is assenting to bills giving official approval to legislation passed by Parliament for them to become law. Without this assent, a bill can't typically become law.
And beyond the legal frameworks, they're directly responsible for delivering services that citizens rely on every day, aren't they? Things like hospitals, schools.
Yes, a huge and impactful part of their role is the provision of social amenities, providing essential public services like healthcare through hospitals and clinics, education through schools, public housing, critical infrastructure like roads, bridges, utilities.
And the economy.
They also often focus heavily on the creation of job opportunities by formulating economic policies and implementing initiatives designed to stimulate economic growth and employment. Crucially, the executive is responsible for preparing the national budget, outlining the government's financial plans and proposed allocations for various sectors, setting the financial roadmap.
And beyond the practical, there's also this symbolic and diplomatic side. The executive often represents the entire country on the world stage.
Right. They perform important ceremonial functions, representing the state on official occasions, state visits, national celebrations, international conferences, embodying the nation's identity.
And managing the government itself.
On an administrative level, yes. They handle the vast task of appointment and supervision of government officials and public servants, including cabinet members, ambassadors, heads of various agencies. From a security perspective, they oversee national security, managing the military, intelligence agencies, all law enforcement bodies. And in the international arena, they handle diplomacy and foreign relations representing the country, negotiating treaties, entering international agreements, protecting national interests globally.
Wow. It truly is a vast and multifaceted portfolio, impacting every corner of domestic and international life.
It really is.
It's clear that the executive's functions touch almost every aspect of daily life, from our personal safety to economic opportunity to how we interact with the rest of the world. And it seems like over time, executive power has been growing in many democracies around the globe. What accounts for this increase, and what are the implications?
This increasing concentration of power in the executive is indeed a noticeable global trend, and it raises crucial questions about accountability and potential overreach. One significant factor is the rise of what's known as delegated legislation.
Delegated legislation, what's that exactly?
This is where the legislature grants authority to the executive to create detailed rules and regulations, sometimes called statutory instruments or executive orders, without needing full parliamentary approval for each specific one.
So it speeds things up for the legislature.
Well, it does lighten the legislature's workload and allows for quicker responses to evolving needs, but it gives the executive immense discretion and power to shape detailed policy, often bypassing critical parliamentary debate and public scrutiny.
So the executive can essentially create rules that function like laws without the full, lengthy legislative process, making it very agile but potentially less democratic.
That's precisely the dilemma. This flexibility allows for quicker adaptation to new situations. It's particularly useful during emergencies or rapidly evolving crises when swift action is necessary, bypassing legislative processes that might just be too slow.
And they can bring in experts.
It permits the utilization of deep expert knowledge, as these detailed regulations can be crafted by specialists within executive agencies who really understand the intricacies of a particular field. And it serves as a mechanism for supplementing existing laws, allowing for detailed guidelines to support and clarify the primary legislation passed by Parliament.
But that power sounds like it could be problematic, especially for accountability.
Yeah.
You're bypassing elected representatives to some extent.
It does come with significant demerits that democratic societies constantly grapple with. It can be seen as going against the traditional rule of law because these detailed laws are made by non-elected officials, potentially creating confusion if they're not transparent.
Blurring the lines between branches.
It can weaken the doctrine of separation of powers, blurring those lines between legislative and executive functions as the executive starts to look more like a lawmaker. It limits Parliament's control, as they have less opportunity to review or change these executive-made rules, potentially undermining Parliament's supremacy.
And the risk of abuse.
Critically, yes, it carries the inherent risk of abuse of power if those in charge have too much unchecked authority, leading to decisions that aren't fully transparent or accountable. It can also be seen as undemocratic, as the voices and interests of the people might not be fully represented when laws are made by non-elected bodies.
So what's the solution? How do you manage that power?
To address these concerns, strong mechanisms for scrutiny, transparency, and accountability are absolutely vital. Robust parliamentary oversight, avenues for public involvement, and strong judicial review of delegated legislation to ensure it stays within constitutional bounds.
What are some other factors leading to this global growth in executive power?
Well, the party system plays a significant role. When a political party controls both the legislature and the executive, especially in parliamentary systems where the executive is drawn from the legislature, the executive can more effectively push through and implement its agenda.
A unified government.
It creates a powerful, unified front. Also, the constitutional structure itself, in some systems, grants extensive powers to the executive power to appoint key officials, declare national emergencies, even dissolve the legislature sometimes.
And their control over force.
The executive's inherent control over coercive powers, the police, the military, law enforcement agencies, gives it the direct ability to enforce laws and maintain order, significantly contributing to its authority.
And during crises, that power seems to expand even more, often with public support for decisive action, right?
Absolutely. Emergency powers, granted during national crises like pandemics, disasters, or security threats, allow the executive to assume increased authority for quick decision-making, often bypassing normal legislative processes, seen as essential for swift response, but needs careful monitoring for potential abuse.
They often drive the legislative agenda, too.
The executive also often has a strong dominance in lawmaking, especially with a legislative majority. They can initiate most legislation and exert strong influence over the content of laws passed by Parliament. Their extensive access to expertise, specialized advisors, economists, legal experts, policy think tanks, large bureaucracies, enables them to make incredibly informed decisions and formulate effective policy implementation strategies, which further entrenches their power.
And the power of the executive seems to extend beyond national borders as well, making them key international players.
Yes, they have significant influence on global affairs, representing the country internationally, negotiating treaties, enhancing national power and diplomatic standing. This international role naturally elevates their status. Finally, the role of media and public perception contributes. The executive typically gets extensive media attention, allowing them to shape public opinion and rally support more directly than other branches.
That direct access to the public narrative is a powerful tool.
Immensely powerful.
With all that increasing power, how do we keep the executive in check? What are the limitations or ways of controlling their vast functions to prevent potential abuses?
This is where it really gets crucial. These are the critical mechanisms designed to prevent the executive from having unlimited power, ensuring it serves the people's best interests and remains accountable. Judicial review, for instance.
Back to the courts again.
Exactly. It allows courts to review and reject executive actions, decrees, or orders if they are found to be unconstitutional, illegal, or beyond the executive's statutory authority. This ensures fairness, lawfulness, and that the executive remains within its bounds, directly reinforcing that interplay with the judiciary.
And a legislature, of course, plays a massive role here, too, as we discussed. The oversight, the budget.
Yes, legislative control is absolutely vital. The legislature controls the executive through its power to pass and amend laws that define executive authority, approve the national budget, and conduct robust oversight of its activities through committees, questions, investigations. This ensures the executive remains accountable to the people's representatives.
And the Constitution itself.
The Constitution acts as the fundamental limit, sets the rules for government function, enumerates powers, and critically protects citizens' rights from potential executive overreach.
Beyond the formal structures, what other forces, perhaps more informal, can restrain the executive? Like outside groups?
Pressure groups, definitely. Representing specific interests or causes, environmental advocates, business lobbies, human rights groups, they can significantly influence executive decisions by raising public awareness, campaigning, directly engaging with government.
And the media.
A vibrant and truly independent media is indispensable, acting as the fourth estate. It informs the public, uncovers wrongdoing, investigates policies, and holds the executive accountable by scrutinizing its actions and statements.
International pressure, too.
International bodies and agreements can impose rules and standards the executive must follow, especially in areas like human rights, trade, environmental protection, ensures actions align with global norms, and most fundamentally, election.
The ultimate accountability.
The public holds the executive accountable directly through voting. This periodic democratic exercise enables a change in leadership if expectations aren't met or if the public loses confidence.
The party system and public opinion also seem significant, almost acting as internal and external brakes.
Indeed. The internal dynamics of the party system, particularly having strong opposition parties, provide alternative voices, scrutinize government policies, challenge the executive's actions, offering the public a choice. And public opinion, the collective views of citizens, can profoundly influence executive actions. If public sentiment turns strongly against a policy, the executive often finds it difficult to proceed without risking significant political capital. These methods collectively ensure the executive operates in the best interests of the people.
Now let's explore the different forms the executive can take. We hear about monocephalous and bicephalous executives. What do those terms mean, and how do they impact governance? Sounds complicated.
They sound more complicated than they are. Fundamentally, they describe whether executive power is concentrated in one person or divided between two distinct offices. A monocephalous executive.
Mono meaning one.
Exactly. Refers to a system where executive power is singularly concentrated in one head or individual, like a president in a presidential system or a monarch who retains executive authority. This individual holds the highest authority and decision-making power.
Single head, clear chain of command.
Right. Its key features include that single head, a clear concentration of power, a streamlined chain of command, centralized decision-making, and usually direct accountability accountability to the people who elect them. This often provides strong, unified leadership.
What are the perceived merits of having a single head of the executive? What's the appeal of this concentration of power? Sounds efficient.
Well, what's truly fascinating here is that constant tension between the efficiency of a single decision maker and the inherent risks to democratic principles that this concentration of power can pose. It's a fundamental design choice with profound implications.
So the upside.
On the merit side, it's often seen as more economical, eliminates the need for multiple leaders, potentially reducing administrative costs. It helps avoid conflicts and disagreements that can arise with multiple leaders, promoting smoother, more decisive decision-making.
Quicker decisions.
Enables quick decision-making since there are fewer layers of consultation, allowing prompt responses, particularly in crises. It can foster loyalty, unity, allegiance among government officials, and critically, it provides clear accountability straightforward to hold a single leader responsible.
But that concentration of power can also be a significant risk, right? History is replete with examples of single-leader systems veering into authoritarianism. Dictatorship risk.
Absolutely. The primary demerit is indeed the inherent risk of the emergence of a dictatorship or authoritarian rule. When all power is concentrated in one person, there's a higher risk of misuse of authority, suppression of opposition, disregard for democratic principles.
And conflict with the legislature.
There can also be significant potential for disagreement or even stalemate between the president and the legislature, especially if different parties control each branch. The single leader often faces an incredibly heavy workload, which can lead to rushed or flawed decisions because one person simply cannot master every detail. There's also a risk of insensitivity to public opinion, as the executive might become isolated.
So it's a critical balance between decisive action and a potential lack of broader input and accountability, and maybe not representing everyone.
Yes. There's often limited input from different perspectives. Decisions may not adequately consider a wide range of opinions or minority viewpoints. It can also be more difficult to hold the single leader accountable between elections. And finally, there's that risk of a lack of representation for all groups if power is concentrated in one person who can't possibly embody the full diversity of a nation. It's a powerful tool, but one that demands robust checks.
Okay, let's unpack this. The bicephalous system, then, aims to mitigate some of those risks by having two heads, bi meaning two. How does that work, and what are its unique challenges?
A bicephalous executive divides executive power between two individuals or offices. Typically a head of state, often ceremonial, like a monarch or a president in a parliamentary republic, and a head of government, like a prime minister.
Dual leadership.
Yes, this system features dual leadership, a clear division of responsibilities, and inherently provides a built-in system of checks and balances within the executive itself. The two heads may be selected through different processes, one hereditary or symbolically elected, the other chosen by the legislature. Important decisions are typically made through consensus or mutual agreement.
So what are the advantages of having two heads of the executive? It sounds like it promotes shared power and broader representation.
You've hit on the key merits. It enables mutual checks. The leaders monitor and balance each other's actions, ensuring fairer, more deliberated decisions. It can provide continuity if one leader is incapacitated.
Better links with the legislature, too.
Often more opportunity for collaboration with the legislature, especially if the head of government is directly accountable to Parliament. The workload is significantly reduced by splitting responsibilities. Ministers are often more accountable to both heads. And as you noted, it can offer better representation of diverse interests.
That sounds like a good way to balance power and ensure broader representation, but it clearly comes with its own set of challenges, particularly around speed and unity of direction. Seems like it could get messy.
It absolutely does, and this is where its complexity can manifest. The main demerit is the inherent potential for conflict between the two heads, especially if they're from different political factions or have divergent visions.
Leading to deadlock.
Can lead to disagreements, internal friction, significant delays in effective decision-making. It's often more expensive to maintain supporting two leaders, their offices, staff. It can also lead to unstable leadership if there are frequent changes or if their relationship is fractious. Disagreements can cause delays in government processes. Ministers might feel overburdened serving two heads.
And who's really in charge?
There can be a lack of clear accountability because of blurred lines of responsibility. Makes it harder for the public to know who's ultimately responsible. And if unity isn't achieved, it can lead to a lack of cohesion in policy and action. It truly presents that classic trade-off between checks and balances and the potential for friction and reduced efficiency.
Finally, we turn to the interpreters. The judiciary. This is the branch responsible for upholding justice, making sure everyone plays by the rules, and acting as the ultimate arbiter in disputes. The referees.
The judiciary is indeed the branch responsible for interpreting and applying the law in a legal system. Think of them, as the ultimate referee or arbiter in the system, ensuring fairness, consistency, and adherence to the rules of the game. It consists of judges and courts that impartially resolve disputes, uphold the rule of law, ensure justice is served.
Whether it's neighbors arguing or someone challenging the government.
Exactly. Whether the conflict is between individuals, organizations, or even between citizens and the state itself.
Can you give us an example of how a judiciary is typically structured? Many countries have a multi-tiered court system, right? Like a pyramid.
Certainly. Most judiciaries are structured hierarchically, reflecting common principles found globally, including in Ghana. At the apex are the superior courts, designed to handle the most complex and constitutionally significant cases.
The top courts.
The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, handles important legal matters, interprets the Constitution, serves as the final court of appeal. Its decisions are binding on all lower courts, usually composed of a Chief Justice and a number of other justices.
And below that?
Below that is the Court of Appeal, an intermediate appellate court. It primarily reviews decisions from lower courts for errors in law or procedure, ensuring legal consistency. And then there's the High Court, which is a superior court of original jurisdiction, meaning it's often the first court to hear serious civil and criminal cases, complex disputes, major offenses, often organized into specialized divisions, civil, criminal, commercial, family courts.
So those are the higher tiers, dealing with more serious and complex legal issues. What about the courts that deal with more common, day-to-day legal issues that most citizens might encounter? The local courts.
Those fall under the inferior courts. They serve as the entry points into the justice system for most citizens. The circuit court typically handles less serious criminal cases, intermediate civil matters, sometimes specialized areas like juvenile offenses. Below that is the district court, generally the lowest level, handling minor criminal cases, small civil disputes, crucial role in local justice administration.
Any other types?
Many countries also have specialized courts, like juvenile courts, focusing specifically on cases involving young people, emphasizing rehabilitation and care. This hierarchical arrangement allows for a systematic, orderly, and accessible administration of justice. Ensures cases can be heard at the appropriate level and reviewed by higher courts.
What are the defining features of this judicial branch that make it so vital to a functional democracy? What makes a good judiciary?
One of the most crucial features, without which the entire system crumbles, is independence. The judiciary must be designed to be truly independent of other branches, allowing judges to make impartial decisions without external influences, pressures, or political interference.
Free from pressure.
Absolutely. Closely related is impartiality. Judges must approach each case objectively, without preconceived notions, biases, or personal agendas, basing decisions solely on the facts presented and the applicable law. The hierarchical arrangement we just discussed also ensures systematic administration and consistency through appeal and precedent.
And their main job.
Their primary function is adjudication hearing cases, considering evidence, rendering judgments based on law and fact.
And this brings us back to judicial review, a power we've touched on with the other branches. Hugely important.
Yes, the judiciary holds the immense power of judicial review to examine the constitutionality and legality of laws, regulations, and government actions. This reinforces its indispensable role as a key check on legislative and executive power, ensuring no branch oversteps its constitutional bounds. Finally, the judiciary is expected to be nonpartisan, remaining neutral and independent from political affiliations, critical for public trust.
These features independence, impartiality, they sound crucial. But this raises an important question. How do we ensure these aren't just theoretical ideals, but are actively upheld in practice? We'll dive into that in a moment. But first, why does the judiciary matter so much? What are its key functions and overarching importance in a society?
Its importance is absolutely foundational to a just and orderly society. Primarily, it resolves disputes, provides that fair, impartial platform for conflicts, whether between individuals, organizations, or individuals and the state, helps maintain social order.
Prevents people taking the law into their own hands.
Hopefully, yes. It's also responsible for the critical interpretation of laws, clarifying the meaning and intent of the Constitution, statutes, regulations, ensures consistent application of the law, resolves ambiguities, ensures everyone understands their legal obligations and rights.
And it plays an absolutely crucial role in the system of checks and balances, acting as the ultimate guardian of the Constitution.
Absolutely. The judiciary acts as that vital check on the legislative and executive branches through judicial review, ensuring their actions comply with the Constitution. Crucially, it safeguards fundamental rights and liberties, preventing their violation by government or even other individuals. It acts as a bulwark against tyranny.
Ensuring everyone respects basic freedoms.
Yes. It also upholds the rule of law, ensuring laws are applied consistently, fairly, and equally to everyone, regardless of status. Promotes a just and orderly society where no one is above the law.
Here's where it truly gets interesting. The judiciary stands as the guardian of fundamental rights and the very foundation of legal consistency, providing a bedrock of stability for society.
And by doing all this, an independent and fair judiciary significantly upholds public confidence in the legal system. When people trust that their cases will be heard fairly and impartially, they are far more likely to respect and abide by the law and use legal channels.
These functions collectively demonstrate its essential, irreplaceable role in upholding justice, protecting rights, maintaining stability, and ensuring government power is exercised lawfully.
Exactly.
Despite its critical role, the judiciary, like the other branches, faces significant challenges in maintaining its integrity and effectiveness. What are some of the common problems confronting the judiciary, whether we're talking about Ghana or justice systems globally?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these challenges highlight the constant pressure on the judiciary to maintain its integrity and effectiveness. It's a global struggle for justice systems. One major pervasive issue is delays in the justice system.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
That's the saying. Cases can take an excessively long time to resolve due to insufficient resources, not enough judges, outdated processes, complex caseloads, leads to backlogs, denies timely justice, erodes public trust.
And a pervasive problem often reported in many parts of the world, which is deeply damaging to public trust. Corruption.
Indeed, corruption and bribery are persistent problems that undermine the very integrity and public trust. Instances of bribery, influence peddling, unethical conduct by some judges or court officials, even if isolated, can severely compromise the perceived impartiality and fairness of the entire system.
In just getting into court in the first place.
Another significant challenge is often limited access to justice. Some people find it difficult to access courts due to high costs of legal services, physical distance to courts in remote locations, or just lack of awareness of their legal rights.
And the physical infrastructure of the courts themselves can be a hindrance, can't it? Crumbling buildings, lack of tech.
Absolutely. Inadequate court infrastructure and facilities, lack of proper courtrooms, insufficient libraries, outdated technology can severely hamper the smooth functioning, contributing to delays, inefficiencies, even compromising security.
And are laws always applied the same way?
There are frequent concerns about the inconsistent application of the law, varying interpretations by different judges and courts, or even a lack of adherence to precedents can lead to confusion, unpredictability, and unequal treatment for citizens facing similar legal issues.
And what about that core feature we discussed earlier? Independence. Is it always maintained in practice? Is there political interference?
Limited judicial independence is unfortunately a common concern in many systems. While intended to be independent, instances of perceived or actual interference and influence from the executive, powerful political entities, or special interests can compromise the impartiality and autonomy of judges, leads to a public perception that justice isn't truly blind.
And keeping judges up to date.
Finally, there's a constant need for adequate legal training and professional development to ensure judges and court staff keep pace with evolving legal principles, technological changes, new types of crime or legal disputes. Addressing these challenges requires concerted, sustained efforts.
So how do we ensure that crucial judicial independence, meaning judges, can make decisions truly free from outside influence? What specific measures are put in place, and why is it so profoundly important for a democratic society?
Judicial independence means judges can make fair, unbiased decisions without outside influence or pressure, politicians, powerful individuals, popular opinion. It is absolutely essential for democracy and the rule of law.
So how do you protect it?
Measures include rigorous appointment and tenure rules. Judges chosen based strictly on qualifications, experience, integrity, not politics. Security of tenure is key. Judges typically serve until retirement age, can only be removed under very specific, strict conditions. Protects them from political retaliation, allows them to make unpopular but legally correct decisions.
And how does that relate to the broader concept of separation of powers? Keep them separate from the politicians.
Maintaining a clear and robust separation of powers between the judiciary, legislature, and executive is key. This structural separation prevents undue influence, allows judges to interpret and apply the law independently without fear or favor.
What about their salaries? Can those be used as leverage?
A significant and practical measure is financial independence. Judges' salaries and allowances should be charged directly on the consolidated fund, the government's primary operating fund. This means their pay isn't subject to annual executive or legislative discretion or manipulation, prevents their livelihoods being used as a tool of political pressure.
So it's about making sure their livelihoods aren't tied to political whims. What else? Codes of conduct.
Yes, judges are expected to adhere to a strict code of conduct and ethics, outlining principles of fairness, impartiality, avoiding conflicts of interest. Violations can lead to disciplinary action. Ongoing judicial training and education are vital to keep judges updated, enhancing their knowledge and strengthening their capacity for independent judgment. And of course, judicial review itself allows courts to examine government actions, holding government accountable and active independence.
Okay, let's unpack this. The commitment to judicial independence is really a commitment to the core principles of a free and just society. Why is it so profoundly important for every single citizen?
Its importance cannot be overstated. It underpins nearly everything else. It upholds the rule of law, ensures judges make fair decisions based solely on law, treats everyone equally. It safeguards individual rights and freedoms. Independent judges make decisions without fear or favor, ensuring equal treatment and protection for all, even the vulnerable or unpopular.
And the checks and balances again.
It acts as that crucial check and balance on government power, preventing any branch from becoming too powerful by allowing the judiciary to make independent decisions and hold the executive and legislature accountable to the Constitution.
And for public trust, which is so vital for any institution, if people don't trust the courts.
An independent judiciary significantly enhances public confidence. When citizens trust their cases will be heard fairly, impartially, without bias, they're more likely to respect the law and use legal channels. It promotes fairness and impartiality throughout the system. Ultimately, judicial independence is vital for democracy, protecting rights, ensuring accountability, maintaining balance of power, upholding democratic principles.
And finally, let's revisit that powerful tool we've mentioned throughout this deep dive, which allows the judiciary to act as a crucial check. Judicial review. What exactly is it, and what are its inherent strengths and potential dangers?
Judicial review is the inherent power of the courts to review and potentially invalidate laws, regulations, or actions of the government that are deemed unconstitutional or inconsistent with the supreme law of the land. It's a fundamental mechanism allowing the judiciary to assess legality and constitutionality.
Making sure everything lines up with the Constitution.
Exactly. Its importance is paramount for safeguarding constitutionality. Ensures laws passed by Parliament and actions by the executive adheres to the fundamental rules. Without it, the Constitution could become just a suggestion.
So it's about protecting the very foundation of the legal system and the rights it enshrines, and individual rights.
Precisely. It plays a crucial role in protecting individual rights and liberties by allowing courts to review government actions or laws that may infringe upon fundamental rights, provides an avenue for citizens to seek redress. It also critically balances powers, allowing courts to check and limit the actions of the other branches, preventing overreach.
Upholding the rule of law itself.
Judicial review is a cornerstone of the rule of law. Ensures laws and government actions are consistent with legal principles, apply fairly. It provides a definitive mechanism for resolving constitutional disputes between branches or levels of government. And, significantly, it's important for protecting the rights of minority groups by allowing courts to review discriminatory laws or actions. Acts as a defense against the tyranny of the majority.
But with such immense power vested in unelected judges, there must be some inherent dangers, especially regarding democratic legitimacy. Are judges making law?
What's truly fascinating here is how judicial review, while a critical safeguard, presents that classic dilemma for democracies. How much power should unelected judges have over the democratically elected branches? It's a constant fundamental debate. The primary danger is the risk of judicial activism.
Activism meaning what?
Where judges may interpret the law based on personal beliefs or political ideologies rather than strictly adhering to the text or original intent. This can disrupt the balance of power and potentially undermine democratic decision-making by effectively overriding the will of elected representatives.
So the unelected judiciary could potentially override the will of the elected representatives, creating friction within the system, legislating from the bench, as they say.
That's precisely the concern. This can create significant tensions in the separation of powers when courts overturn laws or policies enacted by elected officials. Leads to public criticism, sometimes even constitutional crises. The process can also lead to delays in decision-making, lengthy legal proceedings, slowing down policy implementation.
And it takes power away from voters, in a sense.
There's also the reduction of democratic input. It places significant policymaking authority in the hands of unelected judges, raising concerns about democratic legitimacy, especially if they are seen to be making policy choices.
And the human element, personal bias, must always be a consideration. Judges are human, too.
Yes, there's always the possibility of political or ideological bias influencing outcomes. Decisions could be swayed by judges' political leanings or personal philosophies, undermining public trust in objectivity. Finally, judges may face challenges with complex technical issues, cutting-edge science, complex economics, intricate technology where they may lack the necessary specialized expertise to make fully informed rulings.
Potentially affecting the quality of decisions.
It's a powerful tool, essential for constitutional governance, but one that requires careful scrutiny and a delicate balance to ensure its proper and legitimate application within a democratic framework.
Well, we've certainly taken a deep dive today into the intricate and often complex world of governance. We've explored the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, the fundamental organs that collectively form the backbone of any functioning nation.
We've seen how each organ has its distinct functions. The legislature making laws and representing, the executive implementing and enforcing, the judiciary interpreting and upholding justice. Crucially, we've unpacked the inherent limitations on each and those vital checks and balances they impose on one another, all meticulously designed to prevent the concentration of power. It's a constant negotiation, a dynamic equilibrium.
It truly is a complex dynamic interplay, a constant dance of power and accountability. We've looked at the structures, the roles, the strengths, and the challenges each faces, from insufficient resources and partisan politics in the legislature,
To the growing power of the executive balanced against the critical need for accountability.
and the judiciary's struggle with delays and the paramount importance of its independence.
So, as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider this provocative thought. Given this intricate dance of power and the constant challenges each of these organs faces, from partisan politics to corruption, from delays in justice to the very nature of decision-making and the temptations of unchecked authority, what do you believe is the single most critical element required for these organs of government to truly serve the public good in your own country, in your own context?
And perhaps, what role do you, as a well-informed citizen armed with this understanding, play in ensuring that delicate balance and vital accountability? We hope this deep dive encourages you to observe your own government and its actions through this new, more informed lens, fostering ongoing curiosity and critical thinking about the systems that shape your society.